3, 2, 1. Lewis Hornby, you are the founder of Jelly Drops. Welcome to the Care Home Show.
Hi Simon, yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited to talk more about Jelly Drops.
I'm looking forward to it too. So can I just start with saying that what a fantastic product. Just in case people haven't heard of Jelly Drops, just at a really, really high level, can you give the listeners just a kind of really high level overview of the product for me?
Yeah, sure. So Jelly Drops are sweets that are 95% water, and they're designed to be especially engaging for people with dementia. I developed them with my grandma, and the idea is to help people that would otherwise struggle to maintain their levels of hydration and keep them healthy.
Got you. Such an important thing, obviously, like along with kind of basic sustenance, sleep. Water is one of those things that's literally the elixir of life. And of course, when everyone's had a moment where they feel dehydrated, of course, if you're an older person and you're dehydrated, that can lead to health issues and can cause all sorts of different stuff, which I'm sure we'll get stuck into the conversation anyway. But yeah, congratulations on coming up with such a great product. When did you realise that hydration and rehydration was such a big issue for people living with dementia?
Yeah, well, it was with my grandma, late grandma Pat. She had dementia for 7 years, but a few years ago her condition dramatically declined. She became completely unresponsive and was rushed to hospital. And the family basically at that stage were told to expect the worst. But it just turned out she was severely dehydrated, and thankfully after 24 hours in IV fluid, she was back to her normal happy self and went back to the care home, went on to live good quality of life for a few years after that. So it was then that I realised just something as simple as not drinking enough could have such a huge impact on her health, and that if that was taken care of, then she could enjoy a great quality of life.
Got you. I think from as somebody that's quite entrepreneurial and that's involved in kind of various different businesses and things like that, the businesses that I see that are kind of the most successful, they solve a really, really big problem, and often they come from somebody's life experience. You see something, you experience something, or somebody close to you sees or experiences something, and then somebody will they have that light bulb moment, and they just think to themselves, right, okay, there's an opportunity to fix something that's going to make a real big difference. And I guess Jelly Drops is like a prime example of that type of set of circumstances.
Yeah, well, I mean, initially it was just a problem grandma was facing. I didn't realise to what extent it was an issue in the sort of care sector of people with dementia specifically. But looking into it further, you realise actually it's a massive problem for many people. At the time, I was studying a course called Innovation Design Engineering. It's basically, I'd like to describe it as sort of kindergarten for designers and engineers, and you pretty much have 2 years to do whatever you like. And it was during this course that grandma was hospitalised, and for the final 6 months, I had my graduation project. I could work on anything I wanted. So for me, it was a great opportunity just to see more of grandma, but also, the care home. As a design student, I could just go in off the street and spend time with grandma. I couldn't just do that to a random care home. So actually, I had a good opportunity to sort of get those insights as well to help try and find a solution. So yeah, I guess the whole time grandma had dementia, I was at university. So I sort of, you feel a bit helpless during that time when you're away. I was down south and she was up in Yorkshire. So yeah, it was a great opportunity to just spend a bit more time with her and see if I could help.
So there's a real element of almost, I guess, serendipity with what was going on with Pat, with your grandma, and then what was going on in your life from a kind of from an academic, from a qualification perspective. Those two worlds actually kind of came together to create something fantastic. I mean, I'm sure you would have gone on to do something really, really successful anyway. But it must be very satisfying that to know that, obviously, having seen your grandma in getting hospitalized and things like that, and as you say, kind of thinking the worst, through to the creation of a product that hopefully goes some way to addressing that on kind of a large scale to support older people, to make sure that their hydration is really well looked after. I think, again, I remember first hearing about the product and just thinking to myself, Yeah, it's a good one. That's going to do well. That is. So it's again, we'll come on to the kind of the journey and things and everything that you've been on. But yeah, it's no surprise that the product is landing well within the market. So, I mean, you kind of touched upon this slightly already, but I mean, some people could have kind of felt quite helpless in the scenario that you were being kind of away in university and not being able to kind of directly be there for your grandma. What was it that gave you the confidence to think, yeah, you know what, I can help, I can do this?
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, my background before that was in engineering. You know, there's a lot of problem solving, but I always found that, you know, engineering itself was a bit restrictive. That's why I went and did this sort of a course where you sort of freed up to sort of think outside the box. And all my projects during that course have been quite tech related, sort of, you know, on one's cleans air pollution. It's also a company now that I'm not involved in anymore, but that's also spun out. And so I guess I'd always liked coming up with, you know, interesting ideas to tackle problems. You know, I was the kid that was always messing around with Lego and stuff growing up. But, you know, when it came to this, it started from, like, you know, just wanting to help, you know, see if I could help grandma. I didn't, you know, particularly think, oh, I'm going to crack this problem. This is easy, because obviously it was a huge issue. But then, you know, having that opportunity, going and living in her care home for, you know, a month, you know, observing the resident behaviours, but talking to the carers and the staff, and really getting like quite a thorough understanding of, you know, what the setting was like. Because I guess even from someone outside that setting, it can be a bit of a different environment. You know, I hadn't been to care homes at all before grandma lived there, and even when she did, I was only maybe visiting you know, once a month max or something. So to actually immerse myself in that environment, it sort of gives you a different sort of perspective, I think. And really trying to put yourself in the sort of shoes of someone with dementia can also be difficult. But I think the first sort of inkling I had was basically trying to, I noticed that grandma had this teddy bear that she loved that my uncle bought her, and, you know, whatever mood she was in, it was just generally, you know, a good mood. But even if, you know, we were having a bit of an off day, you get this teddy bear out and she'd light up, and it would always get the same response, basically. So I wanted to try and find something like that was sort of food or hydration related. So, you know, I realised living there that there were some issues with drinking, such as, you know, pouring the drink away, putting stuff in the drink, and just the fluid nature means it's often easily spilt. And probably the biggest problem is that many of the residents would refuse help to drink also. So even if I was sat with grandma for hours, it could be really difficult to get her to drink. But with food, I found more independence. Finger foods, you know, more intuitive, removes cutlery to help reduce distractions, and more sociable too. Grandma would like to share her food and would eat when those around her are eating, but it was still quite difficult to always get that same positive response and get that same, you know, enthusiasm with food. So I realised that until I sort of started carrying a box of chocolates around, and then suddenly everyone in the care home is your best mate. So, you know, I go around, generally people ignore me, but if I had some sweets, then people would start speaking in full sentences, take a handful, and that was what I found to be like the equivalent of the teddy. It sort of always got the same response. And I think, you know, looking into it further, that people with dementia even tend to develop a sweet tooth. So even if you particularly weren't a big fan of sweets before, you tend to be as dementia progresses. So that's what gave me the idea to sort of create a solid form of hydration. And that was a sort of like, you know, light bulb moment that I thought, actually, you know, there's something in this concept. And then I started doing the research with food scientists and stuff to sort of develop the actual product itself.
I mean, one of the real big bold steps that you took so early on was to go and live in a care home for a month. I mean, that's no small thing. As somebody that spent an awful lot of time in care homes, I certainly haven't spent a month in over kind of a 30-day period. But outside of COVID times, of course, it's you'll regularly find me in a care home, and you do get the opportunity to kind of sit and observe and kind of see people's behaviours, kind of what goes on, all that type of stuff. If you get any opportunity to do that, and it is very, very interesting. So I guess with your with your problem solving brain from doing all that Lego as a younger man, being able to be in that environment, to be able to kind of have the cogs kind of turning over. Okay, so that's what's happening from a liquids perspective, that's what's happening from a solid perspective, this is how it's working kind of socially and things, and then that experience of carrying around sweets and chocolate and things and just getting such a warm response. It's that whole journey, I can imagine, must have been exciting and fascinating, but then also maybe even like a little bit daunting, because it's a case of, right, okay, so you've almost come to the table with this hypothesis when you've had this kind of moment of realization. It's like, wow, like now I've got to go and do something about it type thing. Like, where do you even begin?
Yeah, well, I think definitely. I think, you know, I had the concept and had to sort of develop prototypes to get that concept across, and you know, it took a few iterations of that, and you know, making the boxes myself and including all the features. So it wasn't just, you know, sweets that contain water, but the drops themselves are designed so they can be easily plucked out of the tray, because you know, otherwise it's actually quite difficult to get chocolates out of like a depressed tray, which they're normally in. And you know, the box for the hinges to, you know, not be flapping about, because that would confuse people, and the handle so it's easy to hold. So there are a few tweaks I had to do to sort of get the concept to land. And then once, you know, I went to the care home, went back, set my phone up, offered them to Grandma, and you know, in 10 minutes she'd eaten 7 drops, which for me to get her to drink the equivalent would have, you know, taken hours of me sitting with her. So that was, you know, amazing. It was great. Like I couldn't have got Grandma to do that, you know, having such a good response, even if I tried, you know. But also on top of that, you know, the concept that I didn't want it to be like overly medicalized. I didn't want it to, you know, have any stigma associated with it, because, you know, the carers I was speaking to often didn't like using things that were like that. So, you know, sippy cups and stuff like that. So I really, you know, whilst Grandma had a great response to it, I also wanted it to be sort of, you know, more than just a hydration aid. It's, you know, it's something you can have a conversation over. It's something you can enjoy together, the carer and the person it's benefiting. And it was great to get such a fantastic response from, you know, everyone else as well, other than just Grandma. So yeah, when it initially, I guess, got bigger than just me doing it at my Grandma's care home, was when I graduated, and I basically applied to a competition online, and I went on holiday, and I was away for a week, and I think I was in Ukraine, and basically I started getting all these messages, and what happened was someone had found this video that I applied for this competition and put it online, and it sort of started to go a bit viral, basically. So I was getting thousands of messages from people asking where they could get the product from, and you know, sending me a picture of their grandparents and saying basically needed it now. And at that stage, I was still, you know, cooking in my student kitchen at home, you know, just for Grandma. So you know, it was great validation that the concept, you know, could work beyond just Grandma. So yeah, I guess within a couple of weeks, I was on, you know, BBC News, Sky News. The videos had like hundreds of millions of views, and yeah, that was a bit overwhelming, but you know, in a good way. But you know, it gave me this sort of signal that basically I needed to get this product made ASAP. So from then on, you know, formed a team which people I'd worked with before on that course I mentioned. So you know, the serendipity around me doing the course, and also Grandma's situation, but also having worked with really great people just around that time as well. So when all this media came along, we were in a position to sort of run with it and start developing the product straight away. So yeah, there was a lot of things that happened at the same time, which we're very fortunate, and yeah, fortunately we were in a position where we could make it a reality, or at least start trying to make it a reality.
And that's something I'm really interested in, because I mean, there's ideas a ten a penny, right? So there's all sorts of ideas, and then you hear people who kind of say, "Oh, well, I had that idea however long ago," but they don't make it happen. They don't go out they don't go out there and take that concept and turn that concept into a reality, which is what you've done, and you've done it tremendously well. How do you manage that transition? So you've gone from being like, wow, okay, so we've got something here, we've got something that makes an impact, we've got something that people like and that they enjoy, and that you've got into all this energy and effort to create the perfect product, and also packaging as well, to make sure that it's as accessible as possible. How do you then go and take that through to being I guess entering into the kind of the startup world, if you like, and starting to commercialize the product?
Yeah, well, I think, like, well, starting with the course I was on, there were lots of great ideas, but early on I was sort of thinking, yeah, it's great to have a good idea, but I want something to come of this. So I'd sort of decided that I was going to try and make a go of whatever I came up with on the course, and see if I could make it a reality, basically follow through on the idea. And I'd sort of teamed up with some other people on the course that shared that sort of vision. So when it came to getting the press and then forming the company, I teamed up with Nick and Claudia, who are my two other co-founders. Nick's CEO, Claudia's the COO. And well, for the first year it was us three working in our flats to begin with, and then we were very lucky that someone reached out online, care champion, a woman called Karen Sprack, and she set up a Just Giving page, and that raised nearly £10,000, and that was our sort of an initial investment to get us off the ground. And then from there, we were very fortunate in our timing that the Alzheimer's Society just released their Innovation Accelerator program, and we were the first company accepted onto that. So the support we got through them was amazing, and they also gave us £100,000 to get up and running. And also at the same time, because of the press, we had various investors reaching out, but investors sort of from the sector that really just wanted to see the product become a reality. So that's what gave us the sort of initial funding to develop the product, to get it from a prototype to a market ready product. We started working with confectionery experts, Mick Fretwell, who's got lots of experience from Cadbury's and Tangerine, and that was sort of our initial starting point, sort of to refine the product into something that could be sort of consumer ready. And then from there, I was invited to do a TEDx talk in California, which again was like another surreal moment. Never been to California or any of that, and was flown out there. And actually, when I was there, I met a guy who was on America's Got Talent, who was also giving his pitch on that day. He drove me back to LA, which is where I was getting my flight from. Invited me to see a show on Hollywood Boulevard, and then when I was Hollywood Boulevard, is that right? Yeah, I think so. But yeah, where they have all the shows basically. And I just got a message on the Jelly Drops Instagram when I was there, and it was a guy from LA who didn't know I was there, but was just reaching out because he liked what we were doing, and basically said like he'd be interested to be involved, but he sees that we're in London and he's out in LA, and I was just like, this is nuts. I'm here in LA for another 12 hours. Do you want to meet up? And met up for breakfast next day, and a week later he'd invested. So it was those first 6 months really where we were sort of we were very fortunate to get a lot of support, and that's really what helped us develop the product further. Do further testing in care homes, refining the flavors, the taste and texture, color, like size, shape, things like that. And then I guess the next step in bringing it to market was we developed quite a unique product. We a few technical challenges we had to overcome to make it sort of ambient stable, things like that, get the shelf life to like a decent amount of time. But then we basically created this thing that couldn't easily be made by anyone else. So we decided we had to bring production in-house also. So that first meant developing the production process from scratch, and then actually building the production facility. So all that happened within an 18-month time frame from, I guess, initial idea to building the factory and the first drops coming off the line. So that was a bit of a whirlwind. And the first year of that was there's three of us, and then in the last year we've grown from 3 to 18. So
wow.
That's definitely been another learning curve. Running a company with quite a few people in, and keeping on top of all that. But we're super fortunate in that everyone that works at Jelly Drops was really behind what we're trying to do, and really passionate about what we do, and often has personal reasons for also wanting to achieve what we're trying to achieve. So it's a really fantastic place to work, and it's been amazing really.
um, one of the things that I'm just like ridiculously impressed with is the fact that you've gone from coming up with an idea through to having created 1 million jelly drops in less than 2 years. I mean, firstly, congratulations again for doing so, just because it's an amazing achievement. But as somebody that's involved in kind of a handful of different businesses, like undergoing that process, I know that there's likely to be a few bumps in the road and a few challenges and things. What's that journey actually been like from the early days through to where you are now?
Yeah, well, I mean, there are definitely challenges early on from like a technical point of view to get the product to be something that could be mass produced and that could be sold with an ambient shelf life, and not be too many barriers for the usability of it. But after that, it probably was making that decision to produce the product in house, because up until that moment we were thinking we would develop the product and then we could get someone else to make it. But actually choosing to bring it in house has been really beneficial, because it means we can make sure that the product is really high quality, super safe, because offering it to a vulnerable demographic, but also the agility it gives us. We've kept all that process in house, but it means we can be really responsive to people's feedback. So we've updated our flavors and things like that, and we're going to be launching a new texture in 2021, early 2021. So that sort of control over the whole process has been really valuable at the early stages, when we're constantly iterating and developing it to make the product the best it can be. And if we hadn't have been able to do that, then we would have been much slower to react. And if you were to get the product made somewhere else, it would would also pose many other challenges, especially with the COVID situation.
Yeah, I was going to say, so, I mean, obviously COVID's basically impacted everything. How have you had to adapt because of COVID? Has it changed kind of many things for you, and kind of, how has that played out for you, if you like?
Yeah, well, it's certainly changed a few things. I think, it's been a very difficult year for many people, and specifically in the care sector. So when we were initially going to launch, it was in the early summer of 2020. So that was sort of just at the peak almost. So obviously care homes were very busy doing an amazing job of trying to protect their residents, and in lockdowns, and having a lot of things going on. So launching a new product at that time was there were some challenges associated with that, but also we found even more benefits of the product. So people that couldn't visit their loved ones, it was a way for them to sort of send something nice to them and give them peace of mind that they were keeping on top of the hydration. We have hundreds of stories of people where they're going to visit their loved ones through the window and stuff like that, and sharing a box of jelly drops, and quite amazing sort of responses that people have given. But probably where it's affected us the most is we've sort of developed more of our direct to consumer side. So it means that we can reach people out in the community, and people can buy straight from our website, rather than necessarily just reaching people in care homes where it was initially designed. So we've sort of broadened who we've made it available to, and I mean that's been great, because we want to get it in the hands of people that need it the most. So we want to make it as accessible as possible.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I'm glad to hear that you've said that you've got almost kind of the distribution channel of working with care homes, and then also going directly to the consumer market as well. I think that will be key. It'd be really interesting to see actually kind of how those two markets kind of emerge for you, because I mean broadly it's still going to the same end user, but it'll be very interesting to kind of see how the uptake from those two different markets. I'm sure it will be great. But how that kind of emerges over time and things. So, I mean, having launched back in July 2020, what's the response been like so far from both the consumer end of the market and the care home end of the market?
Yeah, well, incredible, really. Well, it'd been 18 months of developing the product, and in that time it was just grandma eating them, and a few care homes who had been trialing them, but we had this huge waiting list of people waiting to get their hands on them. And to develop the product and then launch it and get such a fantastic response where people were engaging and enjoying the product as much as Grandma did, then that was a big relief. Basically, it was fantastic to see so many people getting benefit from the product and sharing their stories with us. From that is probably mainly from people that still live out in the community, but also from the care homes has also been a great response. So we set up a sort of steering committee where we partnered with a few great care groups and domiciliary care. So we've been trialling the product in WCS, Forest Healthcare and Majestic Care, and Home Instead as well. And we're still doing those trials at the moment, but the response so far has been fantastic, and we're really grateful for the enthusiasm of the carers as well in rolling the product out and sort of noting down the benefits it's having. And in some of those groups, they're already sort of rolling out to other homes within the group. So it's a great first step. And I guess what we've been working on is developing those sort of onboarding and trial processes sort of remotely, because obviously that's been one of the challenges this year. But so in 2021, we hope to roll out much more in the care sector and sort of use the insights we've gained this year to reach those people that need it.
Mm-hmm. 3 great brands as well. So from a validation perspective, I know all the people, the kind of leadership teams at WCS, at Majestic Care, and also at Forest Healthcare as well. And you've got great early adopters from a care sector perspective. I think when other care home and social care businesses see those brands, they're going to get excited because they're seen as being reputable, they're seen as being innovative, they're seen as being leaders in many ways when it comes to innovation and just thinking differently and things. So I think that a great start. I'd love to see them in an awful lot more care homes and other social care environments. I mentioned to you that one of my promises to you is that I'm going to try and help you get out there into some of my friends and some of my network in the care world as well, because I just think it's a great product. It's a great product, and it's got a wonderful future. And as I say, I'm excited to see how the future kind of plays out for you, and what the business looks like in a couple of years' times. Because would you hope to kind of launch other similar kind of dementia related kind of consumable products and things in the future?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I guess Jelly Drops fundamentally is sort of a delivery system, an engaging delivery system for people with dementia, and not even just people with dementia. Loads of people have reached out since we launched, and people going through chemotherapy, people with Parkinson's, people just people that want another way of staying, keep on top of their water intake. But I think whilst at the moment it's geared towards hydration, it could deliver other benefits, sort of calorie boost, protein, fibre, things like these. And eventually also looking to develop a sort of dysphagia friendly one. So at the moment we don't recommend the product for people with swallowing difficulties, and we say to consult with speech and language therapists where necessary. But we would like to also release one sort of corresponding to the sort of ITSI ratings, and so yeah, I think other variants of the product I think could be also be very valuable to people in the care sector, and then I guess beyond even just the UK. When we had all that press, it was sort of international, and we still have over 35,000 people sort of abroad, mostly in the US, that are sort of waiting for the product also. So we're going to start looking to hopefully start supplying them with the product also next year. So the first step to that is building a bigger production facility, and that should give us greater capacity to supply those people, but also help reduce costs and things like that also.
Yeah, definitely. Bringing that unit cost down will be a big and important step, and again, that will come from kind of changing the kind of production model and things like that. Whilst you've been talking, I've been thinking about I was a very big fan of my grandparents and things like that, and it's almost like a staple of the kind of older generation, isn't it? Boiled sweets, so that type of thing. So to have something that's so it's almost like synonymous with older people, isn't it? You pop round to grandma and grandpa's house, and there's some like there's going to be mints or sweets or chocolates or something like that. So to have such an important product from a hydration perspective, and then also from it's habitual. It's almost like part of our kind of culture that's kind of what older people do. It's just got an awful lot of potential as well. So how do you see the future kind of playing out? Obviously, you've mentioned different countries. You mentioned being able to increase the kind of the production side of things as well. But what else could the future hold for Jelly Drops, and anything else you bring to market in the process?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like you said, that the format of Jelly Drops is sort of synonymous with that generation and being in different settings. Like I was saying before, I really didn't want to have any stigma associated with the product. It wanted to be a product that anyone could enjoy, and is designed, I guess, with a more maybe perhaps a fundamental understanding of why people with dementia don't drink, because they don't feel thirst, they don't quite drink a quenching thirst, don't recognise cups sometimes, but a box of sweets on the side, you just find yourself, like I said, habitually sort of picking at them. But because Jelly Drops have been designed in that way, that the sweets that anyone can enjoy, so there is potential outside of even the care sector of Jelly Drops just being a healthy snack. The low calories, they're vegan, they're natural colours and flavours, sugar free. My mum's a dentist, so she made me make sure they were sugar free.
Got some direction there then. Good stuff.
Yeah. So beyond that, and definitely our first aim is to reach people with dementia and people that are struggling with hydration. But like you said, beyond that, further, there could be opportunities in the sort of healthy snack market and places like that. And I think really perhaps having a presence outside the care homes and broadening the brand to just healthy snacks would also go further to sort of reduce stigma around any sort of medicalisation of the product. So they can be shared by the carer and the person they're caring for alike, and it's a good sort of prop to bond over. And I definitely found that when I was with Grandma, that I could, you talk about them, you share them. It's a nice thing to do. It can change what can be quite often like a difficult task, making someone stay hydrated that is perhaps struggling to, potentially the highlight of the day. So if we can broaden out who we can offer that to, then that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Big fan of it. So important question, if anyone does want to make an order, and I'm sure there will be plenty of people off the back of the podcast that will like to, how do you go about ordering yourself a box or two of Jelly Drops?
Well, yeah, we have our own website, jellydrops.com, and then for the care homes, we have sort of Helen on the team who's heading that up at the moment, and we're looking to bring on new care homes next year and sort of phase a rollout. So we're really looking forward to people that we can work with that are passionate about what we're trying to do, and I guess they can reach out directly to us either at Jelly Drops, Helen at jellydrops.com, or through our website. So it's all on the website really.
Superb, lovely stuff. Lewis, you have created a fantastic product and you're on a really exciting journey. So I'm looking forward to, as I said a couple of times, just seeing how it all plays out. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic journey. So thanks so much for joining me on the Care Home Show today.
Well, thanks very much.